Okay, so welcome everyone to Oscar Care Group's webinar on fussy eating tricks. My name is Veronica. I'm one of the dietitians working at Oscar Care Group. I'll be taking you through today's presentation, which has a focus on the up-to-date nutritional strategies to help fussy eating. So let's jump into the presentation. So what is fussy eating? It is when someone, in case of children, have a limited food variety. This also means inconsistent food choices, at times rejects both familiar and unfamiliar foods, and can also be easily distracted at meal times. It also can look like preferences of positioning of food on the plate, for example, food not to be touching each other, or maybe a specific fork or plate needs to be used. If your child is healthy and growing well, you have nothing to worry about. Most children's appetite are right for their age and their growth rate. Around 2 years of age, children start eating less. This is due to their growth starting to slow down, despite still being fast. This is because growth rates slow down. And their appetites and growth spurts do change. But is it normal? Absolutely. So yes, it is completely normal part of aging and the child's development. And it's reported to peak in childhood around 3 to 11 years of age. Mealtimes are important social times for children and help them learn about food while connecting with family and friends. This also provides them with an opportunity to display their wants. It's one way that they are able to show their independence is by self-eating and choosing their own foods. So let's go into signs of normal eating and maybe some more concerns. So as children's taste buds are developing, their food preferences will as well. So some normal signs of eating is dislike of foods, food rejection, adequate growth. So this is meaning their head, they are gaining weight, they are gaining height, resistance to trying new foods, typically because children do like routine, limited vegetable intake, as this can be associated with a bitter flavour. So this is actually a normal innate response to be rejecting that bitter flavour initially. So it's not to be too disheartened. Meal times around 20 to 30 minutes. Variable appetite from meal to meal. So, maybe today's dinner won't be the same as tomorrow's dinner or next week's dinner. Not always focused at meal times or reluctant to stay at the table. This is completely normal. Maybe they have something better they want to be getting involved in. Getting hungry is a completely normal sign of asking for foods. This might be at different times, from last week, this week, this goes on. So some signs of some maybe concerns around eating is prolonged mealtime. So when mealtimes are taking longer than 30 minutes, and then maybe they're still hungry, but they're still picking at foods, that's something to be a bit more concerned about. Inconsistent food choices, so fixed ideas on how foods need to be served and difficult to calm, that can be signs of some concerns. Inadequate growth, so maybe if your child has stayed the same weight for the past, 3-4 months, their head size is the same as the year before. Also, if these behaviours are lasting over 4 to 6 weeks, so this means maybe only eating certain foods, that can be a concern as well, and only eating a certain type of food and asking it for every meal. So for example, chicken nuggets at breakfast, lunch, dinner, or this could be looking like hash browns at breakfast and dinner as well. Also skipping multiple meals. And another big, I would say red flag would be mentioning no hunger at all. So you continuously having to prompt, your child at meal times. So toddlers enjoy to show their independence. So food is the only thing they actually have control over because they don't have control over many things. So it's not surprising that they say no to foods to make their own choices. Despite it being frustrating or worrisome, it is completely normal for your toddler or preschooler to modify what or how much they are eating. Your child's appetite will vary depending on the eating environment. So whether they may be at home, maybe who they're around, at daycare, or maybe around friends. So maybe they're eating the same thing that their fellow, friend might be eating, even though they usually don't. If they are growing, so maybe when they're having a growth spurt, they tend to eat, they might be eating a little bit more than they usually are. If they're physically active, so maybe that day they've been exercising a lot more, maybe it's hotter outside and they're running around a bit longer, feeling tired, or maybe they're teething, so that's actually impacting, their ability to eat. They're sick or trying to develop their own sense of self. So maybe just today they don't really want to eat chicken nuggets. So keep an eye on how much they are eating throughout the day. Children tend to graze constantly, and rather than restricting their eating to 3 meals a day, like adults due to time constraints or just having to eat, you'll be surprised how much those little hands will add up, as those little hands can end up to a whole meal before you know it. So some real factors to be putting that might be putting off your child is the previous intake. So what did they already eat throughout the day? Maybe they've had maybe they've already had a yogurt. Maybe they've already had a glass of milk. Are they ill? So check with your local health care professional or your GP, as they might be, constipated. They could be having a stomach bug. They might be just not feeling well. Maybe they have a blocked nose that impacting their taste, as that would affect us as adults as well. So tiredness, so settle your child to sleep and trying that food again. So definitely when you're trying a new food, like when your child is well rested, particularly when they're tired, maybe they just want comfort. That kind of leads on to that next one of emotional upset. So console your child and try that food again. So if that mealtime has already been a bit agitated or is a bit like your child's a bit angry, trying a new food wouldn't be the greatest idea or approach, just because they will associate that food with like that anger. So maybe you've they've been quite upset and you've given them a carrot, and then they'll just will never want to try a carrot again, even though they haven't even tried it. The environment, so social interactions, excitement, also can be linked with their emotions and how they approach food. So please consider also some clinical conditions. So if child has chromosomal or genetic disorders or neurological disorders that alter growth, it's important to kind of look out for. So speaking with your GP, dietitian is really, really important. So let's jump into some tips and tricks. So water and milk are the best drinks for children, as sweet drinks such as soft drinks, cordials, fruit juice are not recommended for young children due to their minimal nutritional value and high kilojoule content for their small tummies, so filling their tummies up. So it is encouraged not to fill up overall a child on fluid like water or milk just before a meal. So a general guideline really to stick by is to limit milk to 500 mils per day. So it's around 2 glasses, and aim them to be after meals or as a snack, as they can be quite filling, and that might be why fussy eating is happening. Offering a piece of fruit over some juice. So this is because a whole fruit is higher in fiber, and it also can have different textures and flavors, and it also can help with constipation, but also feed that gut microbiome to support growing tummies and immune systems. It also is really important to give that whole fruit, just because that fruit does contain sugar, and 1 glass of juice can have up to 3, even 4 oranges, and it can lead to more dental cavities, particularly just due to the that sugar content in that fruit. And also a great way for the child to actually feel the fruit as well. So it's really important we consider how we speak about food. So don't say vegetables are healthy, and foods such as cookies are yummy. This particularly is because it can send the wrong message about vegetables, that they don't actually taste good and they just have to be eaten. And children tend to show more interest in vegetables when they don't know that they're healthy. So this is around under 10. As children are growing, we really want to build a healthy relationship with food. So we really want them to be, enjoying all foods and really focusing on the texture, the taste, and the actual flavor of the foods. Another trick is eating together as often as possible. So by eating with others, it gives children the opportunity for a safe environment to bond, communicate, and observe eating skills and food choices of those around them. So studies have shown that high involvement and role modeling, so kind of, what you're eating and what your child are eating, has shown to show more favorable and more health benefiting characteristics. So what that actually means is that it can actually prevent obesity and weight management and help with just healthier habits later in life if we are eating as well as children. Also creating a routine to develop healthy habits. So how you do this in home is, for example, eating together as a family. So create, 5 o'clock dinner every day or 6 o'clock, whatever time that suits your family. It's actually an opportunity for the children to actually observe when you're eating, and then they kind of might try that food. They're more inclined to, even if it's not the first time. So that kind of leads on to the next one, is being a good role model. If you just dislike a food, avoid making negative comments. So, for example, you might not like broccoli, but rather describe maybe the shape, the texture, the flavor, and the characteristics rather than the food as a whole, saying, I don't like broccoli, because you might have, pairing the broccoli or pairing it in different ways is important. It actually can be like overwhelming for the child if you're saying you don't like that certain food. So before a meal, help your child get ready by supporting that mealtime routine. So maybe getting them involved in setting the table or putting the fork on the table, or getting them to grab the jug of water, or making them feel involved. Serve food before your child gets tired. So around that, 4 to 6, even 6:30 is a good time, because if child's tired, they're less likely to try those foods that we're wanting them to eat to get that maximum nutritional value in. So avoid distractions at meal times. So this is really focusing on turning off the TV. We really want them to engage in all those senses around, the meal time. So seeing, smelling the food, also like touching the food, and then that kind of tasting of the food as well. So way to increase varieties of foods. So it's important to try different ways. So, not trying it just as a broccoli, for example, but mixing it in, blending, it could be sifting, adding, pairing. So trying vegetables in different ways, or even pairing it like a vegetable with a food that they do enjoy. Like this could be like making maybe some homemade like schnitzels and, putting a bit of parmesan in there to get some calcium, things like that. So some other examples would be, for example, if your child doesn't like cauliflower, mixing it in with some mashed potatoes, putting a little bit of cheese in there. If your child doesn't like zucchini, maybe mixing in some, in the raspberry muffin recipe that we're making every week, put in a zucchini. If your child doesn't really like eggs, maybe mixing the eggs in the pancakes. I also suggest when your child doesn't like a food, ask them what they specifically don't like about the food. This is when they're able to communicate that, as it can be a way of them kind of describing it. So here's some 5 terrific tips. 5 terrific tips living or working with fussy eaters. So number 1 is not to force feed a child, as this can cause unpleasant experience for both the child and the parent or the carer, providing the food. Forced eating can also lead to greater refusal and discomfort at mealtime. So it's almost like they're making me eat this, I'm not going to, just because I don't want to. A study has shown that force feeding can push child past their feeling of fullness and can lead them to overeat when they get the chance. And we kind of don't want to be, endorsing or, advocating for those, behaviors just to prevent obesity later in life. So number 2 is we really want to set that good example. So children see parents and carers make healthy choices and encourage them to make good eating habit. So this is not necessarily saying what a good eating habit is, but actually demonstrating it is what's really important. Also encouraging children to mimic the behavior of adults and other children around them. So, you know, if everyone's getting the broccoli, everyone's getting the broccoli. Or if everyone's getting the piece of cheese, let's get everyone to get the piece of cheese. So we're creating that kind of unity and community, and then setting that good example is really important. Number 3 is don't reward or bribe with food. So don't give extra foods or your child's favorite food as a reward or a bribe. Children are very, very smart. And if you offer them with food as a raw, they'll begin to associate some foods in a different way. So they'll be like, I have to eat, for example, in order for me to get dessert, I'll have to eat my main meal. And then we're kind of teaching these different relationships with food, which can lead to obesity later in life. We really want them to be being in tune with their internal responses and realizing, am I full? Am I hungry? Just to kind of keep that good relationship. Number 4 is being persistent. So it can actually take up to 15 to 30 times for a child to even taste the food. So it's really important that we keep exposing children to foods, especially when we know that they're good for them, especially our fruits and vegetables, you know, your milk, yogurt, also your protein sources, so your lean chicken, beef, mince, tofu, tempeh, all those different foods. So really important that we're getting a variety in. Number 5 is avoiding the pressure around mealtimes. So this is including trying to reduce those praises, rewards, and tricks or punishment at mealtimes. So really just, you know, serving the food and really considering those other tricks that we previously mentioned. So dietitians are a reliable source of evidence-based nutritional practice, and they always reach out for dietitian for support if you need. Within our clinic, our dietitians are available for one-to-one range for a different range of health conditions. This also could be cholesterol, women's health, weight management, IBS, Crohn's disease, celiac disease, diabetes management, sports nutrition, also like fussy eating and things like that as well. Our team are here to help everyone for all ages. We can conduct telehealth who aren't able to come to our clinic. Definitely. And if you like this fussy eating webinar and you want to know more, we're able to provide a 1-hour presentation to educate childcare centres. Families are also welcome to join. We can hold this session within the childcare centre or virtually. Reach out to arrange a time or date that works for you, and we'll send you a quote. But we can do more than this. Together with childcare centres, we can build healthy relationships for children, and we provide nutritional training like fussy eating training, menu reviews, and food allergy training as well, whatever you may need. Thank you all so much for tuning in today's webinar. This recording will be available soon, so if you missed something, just let us know. And if you're interested in any other future webinars, we do have a few coming up, so it'd be great if you come along. Enjoy the I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day.